Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We've officially made it to the middle of e-learning week 3. Um, we went through this week already and talked about your first assignment, which was the image compare and contrast, reminding yourself that by Wednesday of this week, that assignment should be taken care of. You are analyzing those similarities and differences between the two COVID-19 graphic images to answer these questions. After that assignment is taken care of, you have one more thing to think about and get ready for this week. And that's what we're going to talk about today. That is your choice data analysis activity. Remember that when you are done with your assignments, please be sure to take a picture of that work and email it to me. My email is here for you so that you have it if you need it. Otherwise, if you have questions, feel free to stop into Zoom for me. Okay, so before we talk about your assignment, let's take a look at a graph here and kind of start to analyze the story and the two different stories that are represented in the image. So what we see is our title. We see that people are voting on their favorite foods. 2,914 people voted, and they're voting on pizza, hot dogs, and hamburgers. I know it's a little bit blurry, but our yellow bar here represents pizza, our red is our hot dogs, and our green is our hamburgers. Now, when we take a look at these graphs, it looks so obnoxiously different, right? It looks like in this first graph, and I'm going to go ahead over here and make some notes of the story in graph 1. Some things that I notice, number 1, it looks like a lot more than 15 people liked hot dogs over pizza. Let me shrink this so we can see it a little bit better. This graph makes it look like there was a huge difference between the number of people that liked hot dogs and the number of people like pizza. It also looks like there is a huge difference in the number of people who voted for hot dogs over hamburgers. Okay, we see the red bar looks way bigger than our little green bar down here. Okay, something I also noticed though is that my scale on the y-axis does not start at 0. My scale on the x-axis has pizza, hot dogs, and hamburgers, but on the y-axis, it actually starts at 950. Now, when we compare that over here to our story in graph 2, we see that it looks like a very similar number of people voted for all 3 foods. And when I'm doing that comparison, I'm looking at my axes, I see that my scale starts on the y-axis at 0. Okay. There is, in reality, in terms of our data, there is only a difference of 15 votes between pizza and hot dogs. There is only a difference of 42 votes between hot dogs and hamburgers. And there is only a difference of 17 votes between pizza and hamburgers. This first graph does not tell that story. This first graph makes it look like there are hundreds more people that vote for hot dogs than hamburgers. So if I was a marketing director and I was trying to decide what food I should be advertising and selling in my advertisements, I would immediately, looking at this graph, say hot dogs. Like, I am going to knock this out of the park if I just advertise a bunch of hot dog information. When in reality, we see that there's a very similar number of people that like all of these foods. So if I'm not careful in analyzing the story in every single graph, I might end up drawing wrong conclusions. I might end up making mistakes that are going to cost me, my company, whatever's going on, some sort of money. So it's important to look and actually analyze that full story. So keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and think about your second and last assignment for this week. This is due on Friday, April 24th, and it is a choice data analysis assignment because you get to decide which of these two options you're going to complete. It doesn't matter which one, they will give you the same amount of points as long as they are completed. Um, you decide which one you want to roll with. So you're going to complete one of the options and make sure you email me your work when you're done or share it with my email if you do it on a Google Doc. And you have some choices here. So you can start and you can look at option one, where you go ahead and you go to the website that is listed here. And I'm going to go ahead and open that up so that we can see it. So we can go to our website here. Let me open it so we've got it. So we go to this website, we see that the title says 5 ways writers use misleading graphs to manipulate you. So this is an infographic. Infographics are just visual ways to represent data. So as you scroll through, you see some just numerical information. But as it loads, we also see there is information here about how writers can use graphs to make their information seem credible. So just because something's on a graph, that doesn't mean it's automatically something that we can rely on. It's important that we do that analysis. So you want to think about in this website, how do they manipulate data? And there are a bunch of different ways that we see that graphs are going to change our mind about things. Okay. So after you take a look at this website, you're going to read through it and you're going to write a 2-paragraph summary of what you've learned, citing specific examples of how data might tell a misleading story, according to what we see on the article and the infographic. So how does data change our mind? Option 2, you're going to go on a little scavenger hunt, you might call it, to find a graph or an image that tells us a misleading story. We looked at that example together of our favorite food graph. All I did to find this was go into Google and type in misleading graph, misleading data, and you are set to go. And don't use mine, find a different one. And then explain in your own words why the graph is misleading and is misrepresentative of the real data. Okay, you're going to do that in 2 paragraphs. So regardless of your choice, you're doing a 2-paragraph reflection. In that reflection, you're going to tell me, is the information credible and reliable? What perspective is being shared? And is there a perspective being left out? And what do the axes of that graph tell us? Is there something off about them? So we noticed how the y-axis didn't start at 0. That would be a piece of information to include in my reflection. Again, once you are finished, you're going to go ahead and send me an email with your completed assignment. You can also text it to my Google Voice number. It is imperative that we are getting these assignments done and taken care of this week so that we are keeping up with grades, we are staying on track with things getting submitted. If you have questions, please pop into Zoom. Otherwise, I'm excited to see your analysis work and to get your assignments for this week. Have a great week and enjoy your weekend. Stay safe, and we will talk to you all next week.